How's it going, folks? Welcome back to #AskGSM here today for Monday, April 27th, 2015. Only 24 hours removed from a very entertaining, in my opinion, Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Kind of on both sides of the fence for a lot of people. Either a really good show, really bad show, kind of in the middle from what I've seen from some people, which is good. I enjoyed it. Not saying it was a great show, but I did enjoy it, though. But a lot of stuff going on. I had a project due today. A lot of articles due over the weekend. Had 3 articles for the first time ever out on Sunday for this. So for those that read them and supported them, I appreciate it. A lot of cool articles coming this week as well, ranking the top 50 WWE superstars in history tomorrow or Wednesday for hiddenremote.com. So a lot of cool stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks, even though Extreme Rules has come and gone. Just be on the lookout for a lot of cool stuff going forward. But of course, nevertheless, if you want to send in a question to this very show, you can tweet me on Twitter at WrestleRant, or you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews with the hashtag AskGSM on the Twitter, by the way. I forgot to mention that. And you can leave a comment on this very video, and I'll be sure to include it in next week's edition. So that being said, a lot of questions pertaining to Extreme Rules last night, of course. So we're going to kick it off with, let's see here. I think it was from the first KFC. I had the questions here, but I don't know why it didn't come up. Okay, here we go. The first KFC from YouTube, their question was, what's the point of Mark Henry returning if WWE Creative has nothing for him? I mean, yeah, I absolutely understand. I don't believe they would put him in a top position like he was back in 2011 or 2013 or whatever when he was feuding for the World Heavyweight and WWE titles respectively. Nor should he. I mean, I'm already kind of fed up with the Big Show and Kane being in the world title picture. More so Big Show, because I think Kane can be compelling when he wants to be, like more recently with the whole tweener stuff and kind of parting ways with the authorities. So I think Kane, although I'm not thrilled he's in the title picture right now, the main event, whatever, I can bear it a little bit more than Big Show. Mark Henry, though, like you said, why bring him back if they had nothing for him? I mean, they probably just wanted him to be in the Battle Royal to kind of add some more legitimacy to it. I don't think it really did, but I guess they wanted some more big guys, some giant wrestlers in that Battle Royal, and I don't think he's been seen since. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if he's been on Raw. Maybe he was in the Raw after WrestleMania. I can't remember. I know he was on some Raw, or maybe it was Main Event or something. I don't know. He was on some show in the last month, and I don't think we've seen him since on Raw or SmackDown or whatever. And I don't know what you can really do with him. I mean, he's a phase heel. He's turned so many times like Big Show and Kane that people just don't really care. They can put him in a nice little feud with somebody. Like, I know Neville needs a feud right now. Maybe you can put him with him or Barrett and Henry. I have really no idea, but you know, I don't think it's a huge deal. It's not like they brought back Sheamus and they didn't have anything for him. Mark Henry I can get, because at least he's not in the main event right now like Big Show and Kane are, so I can tolerate him. But it would be nice if they utilized him in some manner by putting him in a feud with an up-and-comer or someone that needs a feud. Like Bray Wyatt, no, that wouldn't work, as I feel like that's way too one-sided, and Bray Wyatt is up here, and Mark Henry's not even on the screen because he's all the way down there. I like Mark Henry, but he's not on that level anymore. He can feud with, we already saw him in Ryback, and that was a disaster. So him and, like I said, Barrett or Neville or Ziggler, even something along those lines I can go for. His second question, I can tie this in with the next question, too, from Pig Window at WrestlingFan615 on Twitter. I believe is the same person. They brought this up to me on Twitter, and they mentioned in their YouTube comment that they were the same person. So I'm assuming that's what your Twitter handle was. Excuse me, or correct me if I'm wrong. So kind of tying 2 questions in here with one answer. Their question, or it's kind of the same question, how do you feel about Bray Wyatt potentially confronting Ryback on Raw tonight about attacking his brother at Extreme Rules, Bo Dallas, of course, and how do you feel about a subsequent feud between the two? So this was brought up a lot before last night, of course. There's been a lot of rumors about who's Bray Wyatt's next feud is going to be with. Now, I don't know if I talked about this last week or whatever, but the top 3 candidates right now seem to be either Roman Reigns. Not Dolph Ziggler was in the conversation. I don't think it's going to be Dolph Ziggler. Either Roman Reigns, Randy Orton I can see, but it looks like they're not done with him and Rollins and Kane. I feel like they're going to do a triple threat of Payback, which is fine, but whatever. I think Wyatt and Orton at some point down the line would be a great feud. Either Orton, Reigns, which I can see if Reigns is and should be done with the Big Show, Wyatt would be a good feud for him. Even though both guys need wins right now, more so Wyatt than Reigns. I don't know if he'd be a good fit right now, but whatever. And then Ryback. I can see that happening. A lot of people don't like that idea. I'm okay with it. It's not like I said before, it's not like it's a Bray, or it's not like it's a Mark Henry or Zack Ryder. Maybe not Zack Ryder. I think it's a little bit of a stretch because he's like jobber material. You know, it's not someone like that. It's not like it's Erick Rowan, even though it would make sense from a storyline standpoint. You know, Erick Rowan isn't what he once was a couple of months ago, even at the very least. At the earliest, you know, at the latest. The guy was not, you know, he has not even been on TV recently. Someone else asked a question about that. But, you know, Ryback has been pushed recently. He's been on TV for weeks now. He's not really doing anything, but he's squashing Luke Harper and Adam Rose and Bo Dallas, whoever. And then they wouldn't be putting him on TV. If anything, they would have him miss TV if they didn't really have much for him. So I imagine that he will be the one to feud with Bray Wyatt. And I'm fine with that. I like Ryback. So maybe I'm biased. And Ryback is not that low on the totem pole, or it's that big of a deal where I feel like it's a step down for Bray Wyatt. And I've talked about this before, but he's already had you know, so many top-tier feuds. In the year and a half that this guy's been with the company, they push people way too fucking fast. And Bray Wyatt is a prime example of that. They put him in feuds with Jericho and Cena and fucking The Undertaker of all people. Where do you go after The Undertaker? I talked about this in an article a couple weeks ago, but that feud was a complete waste of time too. Like, Bray Wyatt hasn't even acknowledged that feud or the match since WrestleMania. We haven't heard from Undertaker, so I don't know what the point of that fucking feud was. But I feel like the feud with Bray Wyatt would be fine. With Bray Wyatt and Ryback, I think is okay. Will the matches light the world on fire? Probably not. But it gives Ryback something to do. He needs wins too, but Bray Wyatt needs an easy win at Payback or whatever. So I feel like it could be fine. And if they tie in the whole Bo Dallas thing, and when they mentioned that on Twitter to me, at WrestlingFan615, I thought it was a great idea. I think it's brilliant. I don't know if they would acknowledge that. I don't think it's too likely because they have yet to acknowledge, other than maybe then a segment on like NXT years ago. I don't even know if it was mentioned then that Bo Dallas was the legitimate brother of Bray Wyatt. But aside from that, though, Bray Wyatt's like some goofy-ass character, and then Bray Wyatt is on the other side of the spectrum. So I don't know if they would actually acknowledge that they're brothers, unless they intend to put Bo Dallas in like a new part of the Wyatt family or put them as a tag team. Again, I don't know how likely that is. I don't know if they would want to turn Bo Dallas into a more serious competitor. He came out like a goof last night at Extreme Rules. So I don't know if they want to go in that direction with him. But if they do, though, it would make sense. It's kind of a tie-in to his feud with Ryback, with Wyatt and Ryback, and tie in the whole brother thing. I don't feel like that was the case. I feel like they just wanted to kill time. They wanted Ryback to squash someone quick. And they just threw Bo Dallas out there because he can easily get heat from any live crowd by just insulting them. And there's really not many other lower tier heels they can do that with right now. So I feel like, you know, that I don't think it was leading into the feud. We'll find out tonight on Raw. But if it is, I thought it was brilliant. If that was the case, I guess, like I said, we'll find out more tonight. Paul Less, moving into the Facebook questions here. His first one being, do you think at some point soon the WWE will look at Callisto as their next Rey Mysterio? I think so. I mean, I've been saying this since the guy arrived in NXT, but he does have potential. I mean, I hate saying, like, he's going to be the next somebody, the next Shawn Michaels, Ziggler the next Michaels, Callisto the next Mysterio, whatever. I feel like, though, he can fit that role. He can fill that role that Mysterio left behind. Will he be as popular? Will he be as successful? Probably not. Rey Mysterio, despite the lackluster send-off they gave him on his way out of the company, which is pretty much a slap in the face to him and his fans. I digress, though. You know, the guy was one of the most popular wrestlers of his time from the many years that he was with WWE for over a decade. From 2002 to 2015. You know, his peak was in 2006 when he was world champion. And I know some people aren't the biggest Rey Mysterio fans. You feel like he buries people. What the fuck ever. I don't really care. But the guy was popular. There is no denying that. He had an amazing impact on the industry. Will Callisto have that same thing? I don't know if he can reach those same heights, but he can absolutely come close, and I can tell you this, he'll come a lot closer than fucking Sin Cara did or Del Rio did. And I like Del Rio, and I like Sin Cara too at first, not so much anymore. But, you know, with Del Rio as a babyface, it just didn't work, because this guy was, like, meant to be a top heel, and he was, like Bray Wyatt, pushed way too quickly, and that's why he flopped ultimately, and his final few years with the company were really nothing of note. So, and I feel like Callisto is an amazing in-ring talent. The crowds are already taking to him very, very well. He's very popular already. He's only been here for a month. Former NXT Tag Team Champion. The thing with Sin Cara, I mean, the tag team division needs as much help as it can get right now, and it's doing better. I don't want to say it's shit, but they need more legitimate, credible tag teams, and Lucha Dragons are kind of one of the solutions to that problem. So I like what they're doing right now, but, you know, make no bones about it. His future is as a singles guy, and he can kind of at least try to fill that role that Rey Mysterio left behind, that Sin Cara couldn't fill, that Del Rio couldn't fill, that we really haven't had with that Latino audience in many years, because Rey Mysterio hasn't been an active competitor in WWE since 2011 or 2012. So yeah, Callisto was awesome. I'm looking forward to when he finally breaks out on his own. Paul's second question, does Eric Bischoff still have a chance of making a WWE comeback? So the timing of this question could not be any better, I guess. I just read, I mean, you sent in this question last night, and I read, I think just earlier today, that he actually signed a deal, I think, with Global Force Wrestling, the Federation, whatever, Jeff Jarrett's new promotion. So I don't know if he's signed with them or he's working with them under creative or a business standpoint or something like that. I really have no idea. But I guess he's going to be working closely with Jeff. As long as he doesn't get too much power, because when he had power in TNA, it just did not work out well. People were just clamoring for him to get fired or leave or whatever, him and Hogan and Brooke and whoever else was at that company. But I feel like he can be a valuable asset to GWF, whatever it is, Global Force. So I'm glad they have him on board. But to answer your question, though, with him going back to Jeff Jarrett, it does not look like a WWE return is in the cards at any point in the near future, which is a shame because I feel like it would be cool to see him back. Not in a regular on-air Raw. As awesome as that would be, I don't think they would bring him back to be like the GM. We don't need GMs when we have the authority around. It doesn't really make that much sense. But I feel like when, just to bring him back at all, for like a small cameo, whether it be for a few minutes or whatever on a special occasion, Raw 1000 kind of thing, like that would be awesome just to hear the I'm Back theme song that he used to have back in '05. The guy was great in his role. One of the best heels of the last 10 years when it comes to non-wrestlers. So it would be great to see Eric Bischoff back, but the chances of that happening right now are very slim to none, considering the fact he had just not signed a deal, but is kind of working closely with Jeff Jarrett over in Global Force Wrestling. His third question, is a heel turn for Kofi Kingston long overdue? It absolutely is, but I think he is heel right now, technically. The New Day has officially turned from what it seems, which is great to see, I think. I mean, I'm not the biggest New Day fan. I don't think a lot of people are, but I do appreciate the fact they are taking subtle turns at turning these guys, subtle steps at turning these guys into full-fledged heels, kind of realizing that winning is everything, cheating during their matches, cheating to win the belts last night at Extreme Rules. And I feel like, I know a lot of people did not, thought that was a joke when they put the titles on them or whatever. The match itself was great, so I was willing to excuse the fact that the New Day won the belts. That and the fact that I feel like if they turn Cesaro and Kid into full-fledged babyfaces, because they're already well-liked anyway, because they have an amazing babyface moveset, I think the feud will benefit. If it is for the long term, the feud will benefit with Cesaro and Kid in babyface chase mode, and then the New Day as the heel champions, because putting the belts on those guys is going to make the crowd hate them even more. So I feel like that was a smart decision. I mean, it may end up being a joke down the line. I have no idea, but I feel like it would be cool to see the New Day built up as this. I mean, I know the Cesaro and Kid were a heel tag team, and you could have kept them going strong as champions, but I feel like the New Day is even more hated than Cesaro and Kid. And then if you keep the belts on them for the long term, the Lucha Dragons can eventually knock them off and win the belts. A three-way with the Lucha Dragons and the New Day and Cesaro and Kid maybe at the next pay-per-view or the pay-per-view after that would be awesome. So that would be pretty cool. But to answer your question, yes, a heel turn for Kofi Kingston was long overdue because it appears he's heel now, so it doesn't really matter. But it is cool that he's finally heel after so many years. The guy's been with the company since like fucking 2008 or something. So it's great to finally see him, undergo a change in character after being the same guy for almost 7 or 8 years. So that's great to see. His fourth question, where in the hell is Erick Rowan? Good question. I don't think anyone knows where Erick Rowan is right now. The guy has been on TV for weeks. I know he was shown in the backstage catering segment about a week ago, or last weekend, Rowan, when he was doing the whole thing with Orton and Axel and whatever. So I don't know what I don't even know what they're trying to do with him right now. I don't think they care, because the guy's his downfall began at TLC last year when he lost to Big Show in that stairs match, whatever the fuck that was supposed to be. And he hasn't been the same since. And I feel bad. It's not like he's the most underutilized talent in the company, because he's not that great to begin with. But he can be better utilized on the card, considering he was so great with Luke Harper. And I've said this time and time again. I've said it on Twitter. I've wrote articles about it. You got to reunite the Wyatt family. Even if it's without Bray Wyatt, you got to put, at the very least, Harper and Rowan back together. Because Harper's not really doing much. He has that fun little feud with Ambrose going on right now. I don't know if that ended last night or what, but I feel like, putting those guys back in the tag team title hunt with Cesaro and Kid and the New Day and the Dragons, you can get a lot of amazing matches out of those guys. So, yeah, Erick Rowan, I mean, I feel bad that he's not on TV and they've been pretty much burying the guy. He got buried, let's face it. He got buried in the feud with Big Show for no apparent reason, other than to build Big Show up as a threat to Roman Reigns. That's the only reason why they did that. And it was a complete waste of Erick Rowan. Like, why even put the guy in the fucking main event of the Survivor Series pay-per-view? When you could have given that spot to Cesaro or whoever, but whatever. So that's where Erick Rowan is, to answer your question on WWE Superstars. Muhammad D's got a couple questions here, or a lot of questions, but I'm willing to answer all of them, a lot of good ones, all pertain to Extreme Rules. First one being, do you feel that this year's WWE Extreme Rules pay-per-view event felt a little underwhelming to the status of being the most extreme pay-per-view on the WWE calendar, and why? I don't think it was underwhelming. I mean, a lot of people, when they say the most extreme night of the year, I mean, I don't really get my hopes up anymore because we always get, Hell in a Cell and TLC. How is the Extreme Rules pay-per-view any more extreme than a TLC pay-per-view would be? The TLC pay-per-view this past year in December was like a fucking demolition derby with all this stuff, a human demolition derby with all the spots they were doing in that show, for better or for worse. So, I mean, it's really not that extreme. I mean, I thought it was a good show. I mean, like I said before, I enjoyed the event. I didn't think it was a bad show. I didn't think it was great, but I enjoyed it. Was I underwhelmed? Not really. I mean, they can only go so extreme. I'm not saying they're limited. I think they could do more to make it feel more extreme. But, the Kiss Me Arse match, that's not extreme. But this kind of goes back years ago. Someone tweeted me yesterday saying, did they jump the shark with the Kiss Me Arse stipulation? Kind of, but I mean, this is the same company that did the fucking hog pen match and the country whipping match and a hair match. That's not extreme. It had a stipulation, but it wasn't extreme though. I think that was back in 2010 with Mysterio and Rey. So I don't think it jumped the. I don't think it was underwhelming. I could see why people would want some more extreme moments from the pay-per-view and whatever else. I can understand that, but I didn't think it was really all that underwhelming. Because I thought they delivered. I thought most of the matches were either good to great, especially the tag team title match, which was a surprise because that was a lot better than it had any right to be. And a lot of the other matches, I thought Orton and Rollins was good. Big Show and Reigns was a lot better than expected. So a lot of good matches on the show. The street fight was really fun as well. So I give everyone on the show props. Did it underwhelm? Maybe for some people. For me, not really, because I don't really expect much out of this company in 2015. So they could have done more to make it feel more hardcore. But aside from that, though, I wasn't really that underwhelmed, to answer your question. His second question, with Daniel Bryan being pulled out of WWE Extreme Rules because of his health issues, do you expect that his retirement is imminent? Also, any chance of him being stripped of his Intercontinental title, the same way his WWE World Heavyweight Championship got stripped? Finally, any possibility of him being in the main title picture, or even the second title picture, considering his health issues? So, like, 3 questions in one here, but to kind of nail them all down. In regards to his retirement being imminent, I talked about this on Wrestle Rant Radio last week, so I'm not going to go on a huge rant about this discussion, whatever. The clips here are actually on the channel. That clip from the show last week is actually up here on the channel if you want to check it out with our thoughts and if Daniel Bryan could retire. I think there's a chance. I'm not going to say he will retire, but it's not looking good for him. Maybe not even right now. Just might shorten his wrestling career, which sucks because he's like one of the best wrestlers on the roster right now. So that would be very unfortunate if he did have to retire. Would I be shocked? Not really. But it would be unfortunate, though. That said, the second part of your question, could he be stripped of the Intercontinental Championship? Yeah, I feel like there's a chance of that happening, too. I feel like it's, someone mentioned this last night during Extreme Rules, but they're handling this situation the same way they did the World Heavyweight title situation last year when he held it. They're kind of waiting a little longer to see if he can go. And even Daniel Bryan said in an interview with Jericho on his podcast a couple of months ago, he said that he felt that it would have just been better off just stripping him of the title just right off the bat instead of waiting and waiting. I can understand why they did that, but especially with the authority as champions, with the authority in charge, they hate Daniel Bryan, so why would they want him to keep that belt? It doesn't make any storyline sense. So I'd be fine with them stripping that championship, and you know what? We have the King of the Ring coming up tonight. Maybe if you're watching this afterwards, obviously this probably didn't come to fruition. But in addition to getting the crown, why not put the IC title up for grabs? I was talking about this with RJ yesterday, and that he mentioned that a tournament to crown a new champion would be ideal, and I absolutely agree. I'm a sucker for tournaments, and I feel like you can make that tournament mean even more by putting the Intercontinental Championship up for grabs. So I think that'd be awesome. But yeah, I could see them stripping the belts from Daniel Bryan if his health does become a bigger issue in the weeks to come. And your third part of that question, will he ever be pushed towards main event or even secondary title status again? I guess. I mean, it's hard to say right now. I don't want to say no, because I know there's been cases of that in the past, but you look at other injury-prone guys, and Daniel Bryan isn't really injury-prone. It's just kind of, from what I understand anyway, the same recurring neck injury that he had last year. He just wasn't 100%. They brought him back way too fucking early. Let's not dance around the fact they brought him back a lot sooner than they needed to. And I mean, I love seeing him at WrestleMania, but if he wasn't going to be in the world title picture, then what was the point of bringing him back when they did? You know, I know the whole Roman Reigns thing got backlash because Daniel Bryan probably should have won that match, the Royal Rumble. And I know it worked out well in the end, but Daniel Bryan should not have been back so early. I mean, bring him back the night after WrestleMania at the very, at the earliest, at the latest, whatever. Because I feel like that would have given him more time to heal. Rushing him back to the ring, I feel like, was not the smartest idea. I love Daniel Bryan. Would hate to see his career get cut short. So I'm not going to say it's. I mean, if he is brought back and they don't want to push him towards main event, I understand that. But even towards secondary title status, I don't think so. You have the most injury-prone guys who are pushed regardless. I mean, I know Orton's a top star. It's a little bit different. Daniel Bryan's a top star too, but Orton, I know they have a little bit favor towards because he's been with the company for so long. He's buddy-buddy with Triple H, whatever. He's more of a company guy. But regardless, though, I feel like there is a chance that he could be pushed regardless in the mid-card and main event, even though he is kind of injury-prone. He is prone to injury, whatever, however you want to say it. I think there is still a chance. I would not bet on it, though. In saying that, you do kind of worry me that he will never really be in a prominent position on the card at all. If they're not going to push him towards towards a higher spot on the card, and they wouldn't. If they don't put a belt on him, I get that. But if they're just going to have him on the show just to be there, and he's not going to contend for any titles, he's just going to be just another guy in the under mid card, then just fucking retire by that point. I mean, I love Daniel Bryan, but there's no point in keeping him around if he's not going to mean anything. If he's going to be like not a job guy, but like a bear or something like that. If he's going to lose all the time, not win any titles, why would I care? Just retire in that case. But those are all the answers to that one question. But he's got more questions. Most of the IWC said that they never expected Big Show versus Roman Reigns. That would be the match of the night. Are you shocked with that statement? And do you agree that Show versus Reigns was the match of the night for Extreme Rules? If not, what is your Extreme Rules 2015 match of the night? I mean, I thought it was a lot better than expected, especially coming from someone that is not a Big Show fan. I think I was even more shocked by the fact the crowd didn't shit on it. That was pretty entertaining. I thought that was great. I mean, I was fearing the worst when it came to this matchup because, like I said last week, last man standing matches can either be really hit or miss. You have to have the right players in them, but they made the most of it. I wouldn't call it a great match. I think maybe great by Big Show and Roman Reigns standards. It's easily the best match they've ever fucking had. I don't know if it was an amazing match. It was very good, and it superseded expectations, and I did enjoy it, especially the ending. The spear. I mean, I didn't think the burial of Cena was necessary because, RJ brought this up to me that, at Payback last year, also in Chicago, Cena buried Bray Wyatt underneath the steel steps, and someone mentioned this on my review on nexteraWrestling.net. Cheap plug if you want to check out my written review of the show. That it also happened to Del Rio and Big Show. Del Rio and Big Show when he won the World Heavyweight Championship in early 2013. So you can't keep on going back to that well too many times because otherwise it doesn't feel fresh, and that's what they did last night. But everything else, though, aside from the finish, I thought was good. I didn't think it was a match of the night. I thought it was enjoyable. A lot better than expected. Match of the night for me? No. The match of the night for me personally... That's a good question. I thought there was a lot of good matches. No amazing matches, but a lot of good to very good ones. I thought the tag team title match actually was probably the match of the night. That was probably the most invested I've been in a tag team title match in quite some time. I thought that was really good. Shit on the New Day all you want, but those guys are amazing athletes. I've said that time and time again, and last night was proof. A very suspenseful matchup. I mean, maybe there's another match I'm just forgetting. Orton Rollins was good. Cena and Rusev was better than I thought it was going to be. But I thought the match of the night for me, I thought was a tag team title match. I thought that was a lot better than I had any right to be. And Ziggler and Sheamus was also good. The Chicago Street Fight was also very nice as well. Match of the night, though, I'd probably have to go with the tag team title match. I know that might be a bold statement, but I thought that was a great fucking match. Here's the next question. Are you impressed with Neville right now after his pay-per-view debut? It was on the pre-show, but whatever. And when do you expect him to be in his first major feud? What title will he contend for first in the main roster? And who do you think he will be feuding? Well, who do you think will be feuding with Neville in his first major main roster feud? What title should he go for first? I feel like if they strip it from Daniel Bryan, him versus Bryan down the line, oh my god, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. That'd be an incredible matchup. Again, like you mentioned before, even if they put Daniel Bryan back in title contention when he comes back, I really have no idea. Even if he's still champion, we'll have to wait and see. I feel like it's the best fit for Neville right now. Him versus Cena would be amazing too, but he should not be the one to take the belt. off of Cena at this very moment. So I feel like would be the best first title for Neville to go for on the main roster. Who should his first feud be with? Barrett, I feel like. They had a really good match last night. I knew it was going to be a good match, but a lot of people, you know, Barrett's been booked so badly that people just don't care about him, and I feel like it's a shame because the guy has so much potential, and he's a really good worker. He's an even better mic worker, too. But in the ring, he's also very, very solid, and I feel like the match, that was also one of the better matches last night, too, the pre-show match. Easily one of the best pre-show matches I've ever seen between Neville and Barrett last night. I thought that was really fucking good, and I thought it was great that Neville won. I mean, Barrett hasn't won a match to save his life in some time, but it was cool to see Neville pick up a big victory, and like commentators, like the people said on commentary, like Michael Cole said, biggest win of Neville's career on the main roster. I feel like that should be a good first feud from Neville, because those guys have a lot of chemistry. I'm not just saying that because they're both English, but I feel like they have a lot to offer, and Barrett can handle the kind of the talking portion of it, and in the ring, they can absolutely deliver. Barrett doesn't have much to offer right now, and maybe he can beat Neville. It's not like Neville's undefeated or anything, but it would be a great first feud for Neville, you know, with Barrett going to Payback. I feel like that'd be a great first stepping stone, because Barrett doesn't really mean anything anyway, unfortunately, but he does have credibility as a former 5-time IC champion, that he can really lend something to Neville in a feud if they were to be paired together. His next question, with both of the Lucha Dragons and the Primetime Players vying for the New Day's tag team titles, which of these two teams do you expect to be the first in line to challenge the New Day in the next pay-per-view or at the next pay-per-view, or may we see a triple threat match between those three tag teams at Payback? I feel like at Payback we'll probably get New Day versus Cesaro and Kid in a rematch. Primetime Players, although you're saying that, yeah, they are in the tag team title contention, they're really not. They're doing the promos, and I mean, I thought they're funny, and some people don't, which is fine. I can see why. I'm just kind of a Primetime Players mark, so I really enjoy those guys. But all they're really doing is just the video packages and the vignettes and whatever the fuck else. They're not really on Raw at all. They've only been on Raw maybe once or twice since they reformed 2 fucking months ago. The Lucha Dragons are more in the hunt. They're more often on Raw. They're on Raw more often than not. They were in the #1 contenders match. So a triple threat with those guys at Payback would be good, so you don't have to have Cesaro and Kid suffer yet another loss. And Lucha Dragons should not win there. I think their big win should come down the line. You know, a 2-on-2 match between Cesaro and Kid and those guys is going to be phenomenal. Mark my words. You can take my word for that. I feel like that's going to be a great fucking match. I mean, anyone can tell you that, but I feel like, you know, I'm very much looking forward to that when it comes down the line for the tag team titles. But yeah, I could see a Payback there being just a 2-on-2 match. I could feel like they could throw the Lucha Dragons in there. The Primetime Players probably not, which is a shame because I feel like, you know, a tag team title run for them would be cool, but they're not going to, I mean, they haven't been on Raw, so they're probably in the same level as the Ascension right now. They're not really on Raw. They don't win much. So I think the Lucha Dragons are a better fit for a tag team title match at Payback over the Primetime Players. Would be a cool triple threat match. I just see probably a standard rematch from what we saw last night at Extreme Rules between Cesaro and Kid, and then Cesaro, Kid, and then the New Day for the tag team titles. Next question from him. Now that Cena has conquered Rusev twice, who do you expect Cena to feud with next for the United States title? Also, is Rusev now possibly going to be downgraded even more after another loss to Cena at Extreme Rules? So his next feud for the U.S. Championship will be with Rusev, as we found out on the show last night, that they will be having another match at Payback in an I Quit match for the United States Championship. Not too fond of that. I thought the feud has been good. The matches have been good. I enjoyed the Fastlane match. I thought the match last night, like I said, was better than expected. Better than the WrestleMania match, in my opinion. There's no reason to do it. Rusev lost twice. And I feel like, you know, the second part of your question, will Rusev now be possibly downgraded even more after another loss to Cena? After last night, I don't think so, because he wasn't pinned. He didn't have to be pinned. It was a strap match, essentially. If he loses to Cena again by having him say, I quit at the next pay-per-view, then yeah, then he's going to be downgraded, because he will have lost 3 times to John Cena in back-to-back-to-back pay-per-views. Why? The matches have been good. They're not, like, amazing enough to the point where we need to see another match between them. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I get why maybe they just want to kill time. I don't know. Someone mentioned to me on Twitter last night, I thought this was an amazing scenario, in which you could do Rusev, because you know how they teased tension between Lana and Rusev last night. Rusev either locks in the accolade on Lana or threatens to. I don't think that he would actually lock it in, because they haven't inflicted violence on a woman in so long on TV that I don't see that happening. But he either threatens it or does it, and then that will cause Cena to say, I quit. Kind of like shades of, I think it might have been Foley and Flair with the whole Melina thing back at SummerSlam. I think it was '06. Shades of that a little bit, and it forces Cena to say, I quit. You know, he doesn't have to, I don't know. And he could say that he gives up, but I don't know. John Cena never gives up, essentially. He never submits. Maybe Rusev becomes the first one to do it. I don't know if they would do that, but would be cool, though, and I feel like Cena as U.S. champion at this point, they already had him beat Rusev twice, so there's no real reason to put the belt back on Rusev. If they were going to do it, why not just do it last night? You know, there's no reason to continue the feud. But his next feud will be with Rusev, as we found out last night. And Rusev, after he's done with John Cena, you know, after he loses again, presumably at Payback, he will be downgraded because he lost 3 times to the guy for no reason. It's not like with Triple H and Batista when Triple H lost to Batista 3 times on pay-per-view. Triple H was a made guy by that point. Rusev is not a made guy. 3 losses will hurt him, especially if he has to submit. He's already been pinned. He hasn't submitted yet, but if he submits at Payback, he's done. And his final question here, he's got 2 questions last from Muhammad. Second to last question from Muhammad. With Dean Ambrose finally winning a pay-per-view match after so long as a singles competitor, is this the first right step for Ambrose towards a major spot in the WWE World Heavyweight Championship race, and also solidify him as another bright future asset for WWE? So, I thought it was a good win for him last night. Great to see his first singles win on pay-per-view since September 2013. His first win on pay-per-view, period, since Payback last year when they beat, when the Shield beat Evolution in the main event. So that was cool to see. I enjoyed the street fight. It is a step in the right direction, finally winning on pay-per-view after so fucking long. It was so long overdue. I don't think he's going to be put back in the main event picture so soon, because you have Orton in there, and Kane, and Reigns eventually. Lesnar will be coming back, Rollins. So he's not going to be in the main event picture at any point in the next few months. From what I guess, I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be nice. I'm not betting on that right now because there's so many other top guys that are in contention for the belt right now that I just don't see it being a possibility. That said, you know, will he become world champion? I don't see it, but it is a good first step for him towards kind of getting back to prominence. And not like he was completely buried coming out of the feud with Seth Rollins, but he didn't win much. He didn't win that much, and it didn't really, you know, benefit him all that much. So I'm glad they're finally, you know, rectifying his booking by having him win on pay-per-view. And it's not the biggest one in the world. He beat Luke Harper, who really doesn't equally means just as much right now. So it's not like he beat John Cena or something. But it is a good first, you know, a good first step towards making Dean Ambrose mean something again and making him important on the roster and hopefully getting into the main championship picture by the end of the year, at the earliest from what I foresee. Final question. Finally, I know Graham is absolutely amused by this. You're goddamn right I am. But what are your thoughts on the return of King of the Ring in a WWE Network live special this Tuesday night? If that return is legitimately real, who do you feel will be the next King of the Ring? So, like you said, I am fucking pumped. And they kind of toss it in that commercial for the network as a throwaway thing. They didn't really put much emphasis on it. It was like, blink and you missed it, literally. I barely saw it for a second. I'm like, are they bringing back King of the Ring? And I know they were putting emphasis on Foley's comedy show and the Springer thing and the Jericho podcast, which is cool. I'm looking forward to all of that. But King of the Ring hasn't been seen in 5 years. And anyone that, you know, knows me well knows I'm a huge fucking mark for the King of the Ring. You know, it was what got me into wrestling, essentially, back in 2008. I've told this story before. When William Regal won the King of the Ring, Sheamus winning the tournament all those years ago was a complete fucking waste. That was stupid. But, yeah, I feel like bringing it back, it was a long overdue. Like I said, 5 years in the making. It's great to finally see King of the Ring back in WWE. Who will win it? You'll know better than I will after Raw tonight if you're watching this after Monday or Tuesday or whenever. Because from what I understand, they're holding the prelim matches tonight on Raw. And then the finals tomorrow night on the network. I don't know if it's going to be taped live. I probably will be right before SmackDown. I assume so. But who should it be? I wrote an article about this like in late 2012 about 8 potential guys who could be King of the Ring. And, I mean, that's outdated because, like I said, that was 3 years ago. I didn't think they would ever bring it back, period, much less in 2015. But, regardless, though, who should win the King of the Ring tournament? King Cesaro has a very nice ring to it. I don't see that happening because he's currently a part of a tag team. Unless they plan to break him up, I don't see that happening at any point in the near future. But King Cesaro would be very, very cool. King Barrett. I know, like I said before, a lot of people aren't fans of Bad News Barrett and his booking, and I'm not a fan of his booking either. But the guy is very good, and I feel like giving him the crown as King of the Ring would get him back to being, maybe not like overnight would make him mean something, but it's a step in the right direction. And King Barrett has a great ring to it, just like King Regal did, you know, as the same Englishman. I feel like that kind of writes itself. So King Barrett would be cool, and we can finally get rid of that bad news shit. He doesn't even say bad news, with the exception of last night, so why even bother? King Barrett would be a lot better. So Barrett is my pick. You know, some people have said Ziggler and Ambrose would be awesome. It doesn't really have that great of a ring to it, King Ziggler. So I gotta mention this. I think it might have been in 2010 when we had the tournament the last time. And oh my god, this is so funny. I still laugh about this to this day. When we had the tournament the first time, and at this point in time in late 2010, CM Punk was on commentary, and I think Kingston was either in the tournament itself or in a qualifying match. And Punk on commentary was so fucking great. But he had this comment on commentary that said, "Oh, King Kofi Kingston, it has a nice ring to it, but I'm not so high on those initials, though." It was like the funniest thing. You can catch it on YouTube, but wow, that was great. And yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing King Kofi Kingston this year. But King Ziggler, King Ambrose has a nice ring to it. I don't see him being. He's not very King type, so I don't see that happening. But I would love to see that, though. I feel like they'll probably give it to Roman Reigns. Unfortunately, King Reigns, the reign of the king, I get it. Kind of a dumb pun. My money right now is on Roman Reigns. I'll probably put him in there to win it. Have him, you know, win the Rumble and the King of the Ring in the same year. Whatever. But would be cool, though. Would be cool if Barrett won it. I just can't get over that Punk comment. I thought it was the funniest fucking thing. But, yeah, Barrett would be cool. Cesaro, I don't see happening. My money is on Roman Reigns, but ideally, bad news, Barrett would be a great winner of that tournament. And moving into the next set of Facebook questions from Justin G. He is back. His first of 4 questions. Back in the late 1990s, Ken Shamrock left the world of MMA for the WWF at that time. What were your thoughts about Ken Shamrock's presence in the WWF? So, of course, I started watching in 08, so I don't really have that many thoughts on Ken Shamrock because I was getting into wrestling 10 years after he left. But, you know, in watching old WrestleManias and pay-per-views from that period in time, the guy was a legitimate badass. I've listened to him on the podcast of, I think he was on Stone Cold's podcast at one point, maybe Jim Ross's as well. I think Jim Ross's too. And the guy always comes off really, really well. He sounds like a class act, had a really tough childhood growing up, so I have a lot of respect for him. But in terms of his WWF run, the guy was a legitimate badass. And, you know, I know he was only there for like 2 or 3 years, but he was a tag team champion, an intercontinental champion. It might have been you, Justin, or someone else that asked me if he was WWE Hall of Fame worthy. Maybe. I mean, he was there for such a short time, and he was like, I know he could have done more than be a mid-carder, but his impact wasn't that great that I feel like he is like a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, if Rikishi goes in, that's like the criteria now. If Rikishi goes in, maybe down the line. I don't see it like being ASAP, maybe. But, you know, he did bring a lot of influence in being a former UFC fighter and whatever, and kind of being a prominent figure throughout the latter years of the Attitude Era, former King of the Ring as well on that same subject. But kind of going off of your last question, your next question was, Ken Shamrock was not the only MMA-built wrestler on the WWE roster in 1998 through 1999, but also Steve Blackman. If you had to choose between the two, who do you think would have won a legit MMA bout? What is your prediction? Again, I'm not really all that familiar with both guys. Like, I know who both guys are. They're both fucking awesome. I thought they were awesome parts of the Attitude Era, and, you know, watching it back, of course, not at that time. But I don't know enough about either guy to take to say that guy would win, or like what guy is tougher. The only reason I would say I would probably go with Ken Shamrock because of his UFC experience. So I feel like he was more experienced in that field than Steve Blackman. But it would be awesome though to see a legit MMA fight between those guys. Those guys would go out there and rep it up. Maybe not in 2015, but surely, you know, during the Attitude Era or shortly afterwards would have been awesome to see the least. A dream bout, so to speak, for in the MMA world anyway, between two big WWE stars, or as big as they can possibly get in the Attitude Era. His next question, do you think that Finn Balor needs to change his entrance appearance for the next NXT live event on May 20th, in which it will be in the next 3 weeks? He has made his entrance twice as Carnage, and a third time could be very boring, don't you think? Yeah, I wouldn't call it boring. I mean, it's awesome. I don't know if I would call it boring, but I am looking forward to seeing him kind of debut something new. And, you know, on that same subject, it was just this past week that I think the new Joker was released. I'm not a huge comic book fan, but my roommate did show it to me, who is a huge comic book fan. The new Jared Leto Joker. I'm not a fan. Like I said, I'm not, you know, a huge comic book fan, so I can't like criticize it or anything like that. But from what I've seen, like from not even like Heath Ledger Joker, but just Joker in general. Not a fan of the new Joker. Finn Balor's is 10 times more awesome. I mean, they even tweeted out a picture. WWE did of Finn Balor's Joker and saying which one was better, Jared Leto or Finn Balor. So kind of capitalizing off that. And I know the next NXT Live event is in the next 3 weeks. It's kind of ways away. But, you know, there still is time to do it. So, yeah, I would go with the Joker. A lot of people were hoping he would do that at the last NXT Live event, and he didn't. I wasn't disappointed that he came out as Carnage, but I'm hoping he kind of debuts something new at the NXT Live event, whether it be Joker or something else. I mean, like I said, would not be disappointed if Carnage came out, but would be nice, as you mentioned, if they brought in Joker or something like that along those lines. Something new for Balor, kind of rock his face paint or whatever. I don't have much time left, so I got to run through the next set of questions. So I apologize if I kind of run through them a little briefly, not going to extreme emphasis around this time. So I apologize. But going into the next set of questions, or Justin's final one here, do you think back in 2013 when Austin and Aries got the biggest push in TNA since AJ Styles in the early days of the company, that they were trying to make Aries as the TNA version of CM Punk? Absolutely. Whether it was intentional or not, it definitely came off that way as CM Punk light. Love Austin Aries. It wasn't his fault, but the booking with him winning the title and the way he did, and the pipe bombs and stuff like that, it really seemed like CM Punk 2.0 in you know, TNA's version of it. And it wasn't terrible, but it felt very reminiscent of the Cena Punk feud from 2011 when they did it with Hardy and Aries back in 2012, I think. I don't, you said 2013, but I feel like he was more CM Punk in 2012 than he was in 2013. But they were. Intentionally or not, it really came off that way, and Austin Aries should not be seen as a CM Punk, and thankfully he's kind of shedded that moniker. He's Austin Aries. He's not CM Punk 2.0. He's fucking Austin Aries. Next question, from Brad Bradar. This is from last week. I forgot to answer it, so I apologize to Brad. But his question was, assuming they're still champions by then, should Daniel Bryan and or John Cena be in the Money in the Bank ladder match? I don't think so. I mean, I didn't really have a huge problem with the United States and IC title champions being in Money in the Bank ladder matches in the past. But I feel like it, you know, if it's not going to be for the world title, I don't have a huge issue with it. John Cena should not be. There's really no reason for John Cena to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Even Daniel Bryan, I don't think he's still going to be champion by that point. I feel like they'll strip him of the belt sooner rather than later, unfortunately. Daniel Bryan, maybe. John Cena, no. I'm not just saying that because I like Daniel Bryan over John Cena, but John Cena, why does he have to be in the Money in the Bank? The guy can contend for the title at any point that he wants. Even Daniel Bryan, too, so there's no real reason for either guy, if they're still champion by that point in time, champion or not, to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match, in my opinion, anyway. From Wegaza, 487, I apologize for mispronouncing that. Their question was, in terms of storyline, do you think that the Money in the Bank briefcase is better off for the top heel or the underdog babyface? I feel like, you know, the story is better with an underdog babyface. I loved, like, Seth Rollins' run as Mr. Money in the Bank was really good because you didn't know when he was going to, like, be the ultimate opportunist and cash it in. The underdog babyface, though, I feel like, you know, I would probably go top heel because they've had more success with guys like Miz holding it and Edge holding it and most recently Rollins. Underdog babyface is cool, too. Like, when Daniel Bryan held it, he was not really that prominent of a figure, but when he won it, it was a huge moment because no one ever thought he would win the World Heavyweight Championship. And I'm trying to think of other people. CM Punk, too, when he cashed in for the first time, kind of like an underdog kind of thing. And Bryan's reign was okay as world champion. Punk's was not the first time around. So maybe it doesn't always work out well because they're kind of seen as like a loser and they win the belt. I'm not really sure. I like the story more with the underdog babyface, but it has worked better with the top heel in recent years since the Money in the Bank briefcase inception back in 2005 with guys like Edge and Rollins, like I mentioned before. The next question comes from @DigaDeBoss. Like I said, I mispronounced that last week, but he corrected me on Twitter and saying that his Twitter username is Sabotage Backwards, which is pretty fucking awesome. So, from @Sabotage Backwards, his question was, what are your thoughts on Tyler Breeze? I think he makes everyone look good, and the Zoolander gimmick works for him. Not main event, but still. I love Tyler Breeze. I've loved the guy since 2013 when he arrived on the NXT scene. I think the gimmick is awesome. I love the gimmick, love the persona. He's a great in-ring worker to boot. He should be doing more, and I think he's headed for a feud with Balor, which is awesome. But, you know, like you said, it's definitely not main event, but as like a mid-carder, I think he could be really good. There's a lot of concern as to whether, you know, he will be undercard fodder when he gets to the main roster, and there is that absolute concern, you know, definitely. I definitely fear that whenever he does whenever he is brought up to the main roster, I do have that concern they will not utilize him right. But he's a great great worker, and like you said, the gimmick works for him. They'll probably have to tweak it a little bit, make him a little bit more serious when he gets to the main roster. But the selfie stick and stuff like that, you know, he is very much dedicated to that character, and he thrives in it. So I think he's a great shining talent, a top prospect in NXT right now. At Big Bird 432, their question was, with NXT's increasing popularity, do you see a time in which it goes 2 hours weekly? I don't think so. I've talked about this before. It shouldn't go 2 hours. I don't think it will, because I think what makes NXT so awesome is that it only is 1 hour. Like, I know SmackDown's 2 hours, but, you know, even 2 hours sometimes for a wrestling show can be a little much. But for a show that you don't have that many talents for anyway, like I liked when they keep people off and then they bring them on the next week. If you're on the show every single week, you're going to get stale after a while. That's why people like John Cena and Roman Reigns and even guys like Rollins, when you're in multiple segments in one night, you start to get stale. So I'm glad it's only 1 hour. It should stay 1 hour. And that's why we have the specials. You know, if they do those more often, it's going to hinder the specialness of it. No pun intended. But I'm glad, you know, it's only, those are 2 hours every couple months, and these are only an hour. And it should be kept that way. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Next question comes from Matt Swagzio. Their question was, should Kane be #1 contender for Seth Rollins' title at Payback? I wouldn't want to see a one-on-one match. A triple threat match with Orton I'd be okay with. I'd be completely fine with that. They wanted to do a triple threat match. Again, Kane in the world title match in 2015, not a huge fan of it, but we saw it last year. He faced Daniel Bryan in the fucking main event of Extreme Rules. So, you know, like I said before, he's doing his best work right now in this whatever role you can give him, in the anti-hero, whatever you want to call him, kind of parting ways from the Authority. So it makes storyline sense, but I would much more be open to a triple threat with Orton involved as opposed to just Rollins and Kane. It would be okay, but you know, Kane is just getting over as a babyface. He's not just there yet. You have the babyface in Orton, the heel in Rollins, and then the tweener in Kane. I think that'd be a good multi-man match for the next pay-per-view at Payback, like you said. His second question, should Cesaro and Tyson Kidd still be faces moving forward? I think so. Having them be faces in the title chase with the New Day, I think, is the best option. People already, you know, open and cheering them anyway because they have a babyface moveset, so they should be babyfaces for the foreseeable future, especially given the fact that the Usos are now out of commission for the foreseeable future with Jey Uso being out injured. That Cody Collier, 37. His question is, or was, with the crowd cheering Roman Reigns and his performance versus The Big Show, do you think this is a step in the right direction? I absolutely think so. I think his performance last night was really, really good. Let's take nothing away from his performances against Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. His third consecutive, very good to great performance at WrestleMania or on the pay-per-view stage for Roman Reigns. And the crowd was not pooping on him last night, which was a surprise considering it's Chicago. So it is a step in the right direction. I'm glad to see, you know, he's progressing nicely. And someone tweeted out, and when it wasn't them, they were talking about other people, and that, you know, why weren't, you know, they booing Roman Reigns? Why aren't you guys booing Roman Reigns? Why do we have any reason to boo Roman Reigns? The only reason people were pooping on Roman Reigns on the road to WrestleMania was because he didn't deserve the main event spot. He lost the main event in WrestleMania. He's doing a lot better now. He's not even in the title picture. Why is there any reason to boo this guy? I could see with John Cena, like the Cena sucks thing, you know, just for fun and games. But if you legitimately hate Roman Reigns and you want to boo him, you can hate whoever you want, but there's no reason to boo him. You know, for real, there's really no reason. The guy's been doing better. There's you know, no reason to boo him. So I don't like that. But it is a step in the right direction, though, with his performance, his win, and the crowd kind of getting more on his side now. I think it's really good. And that, like you said, is a step in the right direction. Next question, at the Paradox Kid. He complimented me on the video, so I appreciate that, Marcus. It means a lot, so thank you. But his question was, what do you think about the idea for Dolph Ziggler and Sheamus in a 2 out of 3 falls match for Payback? That would be awesome. I thought the match last night was good, with the exception of the stipulation, which I thought was dumb. But a 2 out of 3 count falls match, I was hoping we would get it with Barrett and Bryan. Even if we got that match, I don't think we would have gotten the stipulation anyway, even though it was Extreme Rules, but whatever. But yeah, that would be a great match, and it would be very fitting of those two styles, considering that Ziggler and Sheamus, you know, have very good chemistry together, and they would thrive in that environment. Final question, Matt and Marachi, his question was, where can a heel New Day go from here? You know, like I said, you know, embark on a feud with Cesaro and Kidd with them in babyface mode and chase mode as babyfaces for the tag team titles. Get a lot of good matches out of them and eventually drop the straps to either the Dragons or the Usos when they come back, probably the Dragons, or back to Cesaro and Kidd. But I like what they're doing in the New Day. Like I said before, they're finally embracing the hate, so to speak, as Kane would say to John Cena years ago. And it's a step in the right direction. I think people will hate them even more now that they're champions. So it's not a thing that I hated because I think it's the worst booking decision. I just didn't like it because I'm not a fan of the New Day. But we're supposed to be booing the New Day because now they're heels. So I like they're finally turning them and they're going full throttle with these guys. They can be very entertaining as heels, as the cocky heels. I don't know they're heels, but whatever. I think it's very good. So I'm looking forward to the reign as tag team champions. So that's going to wrap it up for today's video, folks. If you want to send in a question, you can tweet me on Twitter at WrestleRant with hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook. Leave a comment on the post that I usually put up on Sunday nights when I gather the questions or on the wall itself at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews, or leave a comment on this very video. Like I said, I apologize for kind of blowing through a lot of the questions at the end and kind of going quickly. I don't have much time. Actually, I have to get to class once I'm done finishing this, filming this video. Excuse me. Pardon the botch there. Got a lot of stuff to do, so I'm a little busy right now. But hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Always appreciate the support. Have a great week, folks. Enjoy Raw tonight, and I'll catch you guys down the road.